Hello, I'm George Hayes, and this video is going to show you how to set up Codeblocks with the mingw compiler and OpenGL SDL 2.0 and GLEW. And we're going to start off by go ahead and what you're going to need to do is download Codeblocks from codeblocks.org. You click the download section here, and I'll show you exactly which binary to download. Alright, and you went to Codeblocks 12.1 mingw Setup exe and go ahead and download it from SourceForge. It's one I tend to use. And you're going to go through the once you've downloaded this, you're going to go through, run it, and go through the basic setup. Do just approve it, as far as the agree to the agreement, and sit there and go through standard setup. Don't change any directories, anything like that. I've already done it, so I'm not going to go ahead and do it here at this point. Once you've installed that, you're going to go over to libs libsdl.org, or librarysdl.org, and you're going to go ahead and download version 2.01. Alright, SDL development 2.01 mingw targ.gz. So you can see how to get to that. Alright, and you're going to place it in your C directory. Alright, and install it. When I had 2.00 originally, I just now put in 2.01 because other people were having issues not getting it working the way I had before. So this is one of the reasons I'm redoing this video now, is to correct all these issues that other people are having, so we don't have it. They don't have the same problems anymore. So anyway, you're going to unzip it and take it as far as that thing down into here, and just go down. Then you're going to have to also get the mixer and image directories as far as these, and you're going to go to libsdl.org/projects and click in the SDL images and go down to this section here. It says SDL images development 2.00. I don't know if they're going to update this to 2.01, but this appears to work for now. So download that into the same SDL directory. I suggest using the same C:/SDL directory so you don't have to end up changing or adjusting your compiler options once I'm done with this, because when I go to show you, you have to sit there and go through and set yours up differently than what mine is if you don't do it the same way, and you'd have to correct for that, excuse me. And here's the same file as far as for the mixer, which is for your sound. And you're going to download it and install it in the same directory. And in your SDL directory, you'll end up with, in your case, it'll be just 2.00, 2.01, and this one, and this one. Alright, and if they update the mixer and image files to 2.01 or whichever, or any other version, they'll be like this, and you'll just have to adjust your compiler options accordingly, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and go into the compiler. Alright, and this is SDL. I've already got a project loaded up with this stuff on it, but don't worry about that. The only thing you got to do is go into Settings, Compiler, and start off with, in the linker settings, we're going to go -L mingw32 if it's not already in there, then -L SDL capitalized 2 main space -L SDL2 space again -L SDL underscore image and -L SDL mixer. Okay, now this line underneath here that I got is actually for putting into OpenGL and GLEW into as far as that, and if you want to go ahead and do that now, you can, but until we have the rest of this set up, it won't work. But if you're needing just the SDL, you could sit there and just do the top line here. Okay, the other part you're going to need for SDL setup is you're going to have to set up the search directories for both the compiler and the linker. Okay, now these directories here, alright, to get them correctly, you're going to sit there and go back to the directory what we're sitting on here, right, like this 2.01, and click on the top file, folder as far as in here. The bottom one is actually for your 64-bit compiler, mingw compiler, and the top one's for your 32-bit. So you're going to click on it and you go into your include directory in here, click up here, do a Control C, then go into here. Again, as far as on your compiler, click Add and Control V, and then you're going to go OK. In my case, I've already got it, so no sense in doing it. And you're going to do that for each of the 3 directories that we got as far as under the SDL, because you got your mixer and your image. You're going to have to do the same thing for them. Top file folder again, include SDL2, and copy it, and so on. All right, and that takes care of that part. Now, as far as under SDL, we'll go on to, so you're going to have to end up setting up these for both your include directories has to include SDL2, and your linker actually changes and has a lib instead of to include SDL2 at the end. Alright, and that's just fairly simple, so if you want to copy and paste it in that way, you can do it and just change that last ending part. Alright, now if you're just doing SDL and not doing OpenGL or anything, you're going to go ahead as far as into your libraries down here, or in this case binaries here, and you copy these DLLs out that you need. Like in case you're using SDL 2.0, you use this DLL. Alright, and then if you're using some of the image libraries, such as, let's say you want to use the JPEG and stuff like that and PNG, you're going to download the SDL2 images in zlib and the JPEG or PNG, and you're going to put them into your projects directory and into your executables. If you put it in your executables directory, you can run your executable with it. Alright, if you put it into your projects directory, you can run it from inside your compiler, so for IDE. So for example, when I hit here, it's actually just looking inside the project directory. But if I go to, let's see, I want to open up another one real quick, and if I look as far as in, better yet, come down, do it this way, sorry, take a second here. My project directory as far as on this, if you look, I have in the project directory, I have my glue and so forth like that. But if I want to actually run it just from the binaries, like if I want to click on this and run it, then I'd have to have it in the same directory with it, or have those dynamic link libraries set into one of the system path files folders. All right, so if I want to run it from the executable, it's going to be most, probably want to package it with this as far as in the same directory. If you're just wanting to, while you're doing your testing, you can just leave it as far as in the project directory as I was showing earlier, where you have all your stuff. Now, the next part, as far as one of the things you're also going to want to do is, let's see, okay, one of the next things you also want to do with Codeblocks, alright, because you have to do this before the next part anyway, is you're going to go as far as into your C directory, x86, right, program files, right, Codeblocks, mingw, go under binary, and take this thing, this path here, and make sure it's copied and put inside your system path. Alright, you're going to probably have to reboot or whatever before you can actually make use of it. Alright, because we're going to have to compile the glue libraries to actually create the DLLs that work with it, because when you download the glue library set, the DLLs that come with it aren't compiled for mingw, are compiled for Visual C++. And so anyway, to get glue, you're going to go to github.com/nigels.com/glue, then click on the releases button, which is release button here. It says releases, so download the tar.gz, and we'll put it into the glue directory. Alright, and decompress it and extract it and get it here. Now, to compile this, there is an individual who sit there and created a script batch file that is found on stackoverflow.com questions 105, and as you can see up here. And you could either go here and get it, but I'll include it in the file that you can download from my website, so that you can just download the batch file and run it. And that batch file is going to be called compile.bat. You just stick it inside the directory where your the glue directory, as far as in this section of it. Alright, as long as you got the mingw compiler set to be inside your system's path, you can then sit there and just basically do like this and run it, and it will compile it. Alright, and by using a command bat, and as you can see, I actually did it here, and we're okay as far as on that. Now, that will sit there and set up that. Now, what it doesn't do is you can actually copy some of these files and put them over into your mingw folders and stuff like that to access them a little easier. Alright, so if you copy these 3 files and you'll take them and stick them into mingw, you're going to put those in your include GL files, and as you can see, I put the glue files in there. Then you're going to go back and you got to get the .a and .dll.a and .orgs. Alright, .o, sorry, which is your object files and library, and you're going to put them also. Let's see. Alright, so these 4 .a files here you're going to need, and the .o files here you're going to need. You're going to copy them and place them into the lib folder under C, program files, Codeblocks, mingw lib, and put them in here. Alright, and you'll see that they got the glue libs and stuff like that from there, and mine as far as in here also. Alright, let's see if I'm on the right one here. Yeah, see, it's lib glue. Alright, well, if we go back into here, start at the top, libg. Alright, we got lib glue and all sitting in here. Alright, okay, and just like with the SDL directory, as far as using those DLLs, you're going to have to copy those DLLs and actually stick them in your project folder and in with your executable to use them as far as on that. So, and that would be this DLL here and this DLL here. Alright, those two, you're going to copy them and place them inside the project directory. Either you're going to put it in here also here, and you're going to put it down as far as in here, like glue here and here, as far as in your actual project, wherever you happen to save your project at. And then in Codeblocks, under your compiler options again, and search directories, you won't need to change anything, those are going to stay the same. You're going to add in this -l Opengl 32 under your linker settings, and -l GLEU 32, and -l GLEW 32, -l GLEW 32 MX, and those will handle your Opengl for Opengl 3.0 and above, and so on. Okay, and that's your basic setup as far as going with that. Now, I went ahead and created a simple project that obviously creates this triangle here, and the basic program. All right, Let's see, close that. Okay, here's basic program. It will sit there and starts like this, creates an object for as far as the program itself, bool for running, if it's running or not. Creates a window. With this, it creates context for the main context, then an OpenGL object, which is actually created out of here from this object, which has vertex array program ID, then vertex buffer data and vertex buffer, and then it has initialization function, load shaders program function, then vertex array a, and getting program ID, getting the program display, right, for actually displaying the object, and then clean up when it's done. Okay, now I can go down and show more of that, but we'll go ahead as far as the actual main program first, and then we'll go back over to that section. We'll jump back and forth here to sit there and go through it. Okay, so very similar to the object as far as on the program object. When the program is created, as on execute, then initialize, on events for event handling, loop for calculations you want to do when you're actually going through the loop as far as back on it. Every time you render what you're actually going to render. All right, so if you have a function call like for my object for displaying something, it'll be called in my render, on render, and then when it's done, it cleans up. And so if we go here to the part and actually see it's created, all right, when main starts, it creates an application or the program, a copy of it. All right, as an object model. And then it initializes, sees if it comes up true. On init goes in here, creates your SDL major version 4.0 and minor version, in this case 4 and 0, or you could have 3.3 or whatever. All right, and sets the attributes for a double buffer, GL depth 24 as far as color depth and stuff like that. All right, then it creates your window, SDL create window. All right, your name goes in here, upper and left corner where you want it to start at, so 100, something like this, 640 by 480. It's an SDL OpenGL window, and it's going to be visible. Okay, and then it goes down here for main context. It creates the actual window. All right, SDLGL set swap interval to 1. GLEW experimental allows you to use the later versions like 3.3 and above, or 3.0 and above. Then it does GLEW initialization. All right, and this is for error checking as far as out here. I haven't really done it. It just initializes GLEW, simple as that. All right, then here it actually creates an object as far as one of the 3D objects out of my 3D object back here. All right, which in turn sits there and increases with vertex array and ID and buffer and stuff, and then these goes through and initialize and call it. So it's going to initialize as far as on it, and what it's going to do is create your vertex array, and then binds the vertex array to the vertex ID. All right, loads the shader for here, and here your vertex shader and your fragment shader. All right, fills the vertex array. All right, and we can look at this here in a second a little more. All right, then as far as sets this into your buffer, right, binds it to it, and reads, let's see, vertex data into your vertex buffer, I believe, and let's see, then object as far as this part here is for actually displaying it. So anytime the display is called to it, it will come back to this section and actually display it. All right, and clears the screen that says use program ID, which is your shader program ID. All right, and enables your vertex attribute, binds a buffer to it, and so on. And anyway, this is very simple as far as on the thing, as far as cleaning up the vertex buffer and the vertex array and stuff like that. Now, it's actually oversimplified in a way because I just wanted to get this up and running. And truthfully, if I was doing this on a more adaptive scale that I wanted, I would sit there and change a lot of this as far as in loading the vertex buffer up. I would set them up to where I could actually, in the shaders and stuff, or the shaders, I guess should be a way to say it. Um, I would set them up to where they could actually be changed as far as it, because there are commands where you can release um, a buffer, shader and stuff like that, and take them out of a program and sit there and set the program up again and stuff like that, and then reattach them to it, to an object and so on. And in this case, the way it's set up right now, it just basically allows one shader, vertex layer, one fragment shader, and they're combined into a program and attached to the object. So it's just very basic to get it set up as far as on that, and it's just a demonstration. All right, so in fact, see if I can remember where I actually got that from. I think it was on He had a link to it. Sorry about that. You have to wait on me. OpenGL tutorial site. Their second tutorial on here, I believe, is the one that parts of this code was, you know, used sort of from. It's not entirely from it. Let's see. Let's see. Where is it? Here. It's the second tutorial. This tutorial here. All right. So at least this individual can get credit for his part in this. All right. And anyway, that's opengltutorials.org. Take that back out of here now. Mingw is another good programming site as far as on it. All right, so anyway, back to this. Now, very simply what this does, all right, it creates a vertex shader ID and a fragment shader ID, all right, here. Then it sits there and loads, creates space for the code for them as far as like what you have in your text files, right? All right, then I have a text program that I created for loading text files up, or function technically. Um, it's very simple, this one here, all right, and it just dumps the text file straight into these things, two strings here. These through this function here. Then we sit there and set the result to false. Info log length isn't even set. All right, so then this section here basically compiles the vertex shader. What it's doing is taking it from a C string over, it's dumping it into a pointer. All right, and the pointer is combined with the vertex shader ID, and then the vertex shader ID is compiled. All right, and basically that's loading it up as far as actually into the video card and so on. All right, then this here checks it to make sure it's right. All right, and that's about as simple as it gets. All right, and then you do the same thing with your fragment shader. You check it, then you combine those, all right, to a program. It creates the program ID and then binds those two to the program ID. See, this is where I was talking about. There's also the ability to unbind one of these from a program ID and bind other stuff back to it. All right, so this isn't the best way to do something. Actually, it would be better to have an object that you could actually set up as far as being, for each of the target thing, and then having them where you can take them on and off, because you can have, different ones affecting it. All right, and then let's see. It also checks to see if the program worked as far as if it combined rather correctly, and then it exits out, clearing up the vertex and shader ID data and so forth from up above, and returns back to the other program function. Okay. And sorry, I'm better at writing code than I'm always technically explaining it, so, and or understanding it in my head better than I'm saying it. All right, so anyway, as far as on the initialization, created a window. SDL did glue experimental true for to ensure that you can use the 4.0 above. We covered that. Then the object initialization, which we had over there, we showed going through on it. All right, so on events, very simple. You do an OpenDL SDL event, right? If the event's type SDL quit, in this case we just got one thing. You could also handle all your keys and mouse inputs in here and so forth, which I cover in other things, the SDL tutorials, and I'll cover that pretty widely. We'll cover that pretty much, or any other SDL tutorial on it. All right, on loop. This section I tend to use for things like if I have, let's say, AI stuff, that I want to call to for functions from it, like if I want to have a car steering or driving, or an AI character moving or doing whatever, it's all usually handled in here. Any updates as far as on that, then actually rendering, for example, like that object created from 3D object, my object calls it display routine out of object, and then it displays it. All right, and then it does swap window as far as underneath it. It's very simple. All right, clean up literally just cleans up, calls the object to clean up, then it cleans up the context and so forth for the SDL window and the window itself, and then quits. All right, and all this will be included as far as in a zip file, along with the copy of the bat file here, that, or batch file, that's used as far as for that, and you'll be able to download it from my website. I hope you enjoyed this and find it useful, and if you find anything missing on it, please let me know, and thank you very much.